The Institute of Leadership and Management recognises great leadership as being multidimensional. We identify 5 dimensions: authenticity, vision, achievement, ownership and collaboration. We've broken down those 5 dimensions into 49 components, which enable us to organise our resources in such a way as to help individuals access the leadership development that is immediately relevant to them. This video introduces leading projects, part of the dimension of collaboration.
And so we look at this through 3 specific areas: tools and techniques, people management and programme management, which are all critical for delivering good projects and good project outcomes. And here at the Institute, we think that great project teams are built by collaborative leaders. And so we've got this quote in front of you, and for myself, having managed large numbers of very complex projects and programmes of work, I think this quote is really helpful. It highlights the timeframe nature of projects, along with the clear scope and specification to meet the objectives. And a project is usually considered successful if it achieves project outcomes within the 3 elements of acceptance criteria, timeframes and budgets. And in many project work, it can be very easy for these to slip if they are not very, very carefully managed. So I'm going to start off by looking at the project management triangle model. And this looks at it through a triple constraint model of time constraints, which determine how long is available to deliver the project. Cost constraints determine the budgets and financial resources allocated to the project, and then other resources down the line from them. And then the scope constraints, which refers to the functions and the outputs of these projects. And when undertaking a project, it's really important to recognise that there's an interdependency between these 3 constraints, and they're often competing with each other. So if any one of them shifts, anything shifts towards one or other of these 3 elements, the outputs can be skewed, and the quality that sits at the centre of these 3 can be affected quite dramatically if a project is not well managed. So the project manager must continually assess these throughout the project to avoid bottlenecks. And so in terms of delivering a project, it has a life cycle. And I'm going to start by talking to you about a waterfall life cycle. And within this, the first stage is project initiation. And it's often seen as the most important step in a project because you're defining the purpose, scale, timeframes, deliverables, the team and resource needs. And then you develop the plan that consists of this detailed timeline that identifies what is going to be done, when it will be done, by who, the cost, the quality, the assurance standards, and the key milestones and the deliverables. And these together can make or break a project, really, if they're not done well. So then once you've got your plan developed, you go on to execute the project, generating the deliverables, you track the timeframes, track the finances, track the quality, dealing with risks, issues, and changes as necessary. And of course, you work with a lot of different people on your projects often as well. And working together is really critically important. And the final phase of the project consists of a close down, where the project is wrapped up, finances are closed, project team disbanded. And if a project is not closed effectively, it can cascade into further problems for an organisation. So again, it's really important to make sure you have a closed down protocol and you wrap up your project at the end of it. Another approach to project management is agile project management, and this is really often used within technology and increasingly elsewhere. And it's a really good approach when you haven't got a clearly specified output because you need to think innovatively throughout the life cycle of the project that you're doing. And so you've got a need for iterative and incremental development of the project. And in the waterfall approach, which we see on the diagram here, you have a full specification at the start of the project. But with agile, the focus moves to the parameters that can be delivered within the resource constraints that are available. So as I move on, we're going to have a very brief look at Prince2. Prince2 stands for Project and Control Environment. It's a very detailed and formalised project methodology that originates within UK government. And it's a very extensive, very detailed project management approach. And it's really good for collaborations where you're working with different organisations. So you've got a shared language, shared understanding of responsibilities. And there's also an adaptation of Prince2 that allows for agile project management as well, which was developed in 2009. I won't dwell on this in any more detail. You can come back and look at it in your own time later. So then we need to think about tools and techniques. And there's thousands of different tools, techniques, protocols to support project management. And this is just a snapshot of a few of them. So on the left, we start with Gantt charts, which support scheduling of the tasks, which often have very complex interdependencies. So you schedule these tasks, and these enable you to deliver to different project milestones, so you can track and make sure you're being successful. A PERT chart, or program evaluation review technique, maps out sequences of dependencies and identifies certain tasks that need to be completed for others. And when you map these out, you can put these into your Gantt chart and time frame them. And again, you've got a different technique here called critical path analysis, and that focuses on events and controlling costs and using network diagrams. And again, these work really well together to develop your project plans, your protocols, and redevelop them as you go through the project. Then on the right, we've got the stakeholder matrix, and that helps you understand who's got a vested interest and who you might want to involve within your project that you're working on in different ways. The RASI matrix, or responsibility alignment matrix, assigns responsibility and accountability to different parties who are involved in the project. So you know who's got to do what, and then within your Gantt chart, you say when they're going to do it. But it's really important to know who is accountable for different aspects of project delivery. And then your risk profile is used to identify and manage risks, establish contingencies, and mitigate if any issues occur. So moving on, it's really, really important then to go beyond the protocols to look at the people who are going to be involved in the project, because these are critical. And as a leader, again, these are make or break. The ability and the skill of any project leader will make or break a project in terms of their ability to work with others. So they've got a number of responsibilities as a project manager, and it doesn't matter whether it's a dedicated project manager or sometimes you'll find someone you may run a project on a temporary basis from a different position. The skill sets and responsibilities are the same. So as a project management, there are 6 core areas of responsibility, which are the scope, the scheduling, the financial management, risk management, quality management, and resource management. And then there's a number of critically important interpersonal skills. So the broader skill sets. So you've got leadership skills, the ability to plan, being a problem solver, being a strong communicator with different people using different means of communication, motivation, and managing conflict between people as well. And we provide in-depth support with developing these different skill sets throughout the 49 components of my leadership. So it'd be worthwhile having a look at this after the presentation. And so the organisational structure will also impact approaches to project management. So within the structure, the project management involved or sign off will have a major impact on how you manage your project. And we're looking at 3 structures within this presentation very briefly. So first, we're looking at hierarchical functional structures. And within this structure, projects within a department are independent from other parts of the organisation, and project managers have little influence. So they'll be primarily responsible for managing the project coordination through functional managers rather than the staff delivering the project. Then you might have a project-based organisational structure. So the project management has quite significant authority and independence over the project resources, the budgets and the staff. Or there might be something that's more of a matrix manage approach. and the level of power over the project resources, budgets and staff will vary dependent on both the organisational culture and the structure. So if it's a balanced matrix, the project manager and functional manager will share equal or near equal influence over the project, particularly when you're looking at staff resources, but other resources too. If it's a weak matrix, it will shift more towards the functional manager and functional structure having that greater power over the resources as previously discussed. So now moving on to programme management. And this consists of a view of multiple projects that are managed in a much more coordinated manner. And this is coupled with a range of change management activities that achieve change and desired outputs. So while a project manager ensures that individual project requirements are met, the programme manager will normally manage multiple projects. It normally has a more strategic overview, and often within those programmes of work, they may have multiple projects or multiple project managers underneath them. And programme management, as I said, is more strategic, and there's more project responsibilities there. And there's also much stronger alignment of projects and business as usual to strategic targets in terms of the thinking around the projects. The broader oversight of programme management enables a more effective management of complexity, and it also enables better use of resources throughout multiple projects. It reduces duplication, improves efficiency, and should have overall cost savings. So it's therefore a much more effective way for managing risk associated with project work. And as with project management, there are some very specific tools and frameworks that support programme management. Some of them are very similar or identical to project management. Some of them are a bit more advanced or shift a little for programme management needs. So after that fast whistle-stop tour through project management, our final thoughts are that it's really important to consider the people that you are working with when you're leading projects and how you work with them. It's really important to provide support and communicate with them, whether that is with communication channels for smooth delivery of projects, or feedback for stakeholders, or how you bring them together, or maybe other aspects of projects. And these, I think, are available in the handout, certainly available in our resources online. So I'm not going to go through the tick list here because it's way too detailed, but it gives you an overview. So finally, I want to let you know that we do provide resources about leading projects within My Leadership, and I would strongly encourage you to assess your own capability with leading projects through using the My Leadership tool. And when you have successfully met the standard, you will be congratulated with the reward of a digital badge.